I was never the ingenue in my entire career until I turned, I don't know, 45. And then it was like, and now we want you to be naked. And I'm like, y'all waited till now? Baby, when I was 20, these girls was sitting out here.
If you're looking for drama, it's here at our table, but in a good way. We've gathered 6 of the biggest actresses on TV to talk about their standout roles and just about everything else. Kathy Bates, Cristin Milioti, Helen Mirren, Niecy Nash-Betts, Parker Posey, Keri Russell. And they are all on the record, but maybe just a little off script with The Hollywood Reporter. Hi, I'm Mikey O'Connell with The Hollywood Reporter, and welcome to the Drama Actress Roundtable. Let's get into it.
While we're laughing. This drama actress.
If you were to see a Niecy Nash-Betts type, or a Keri Russell type, or any of your names type on a casting breakdown, do you have a decent idea of what that would be?
Well, I would never want to have that on a casting thing. Because that means that they want a type, that
You become a commodity.
You've become a commodity.
But they may want you and just not afford you.
Well, then they're going to go for AI, aren't they?
I know what you're saying. I get what you're asking. I'm going to say, like I went through a phase where it was just like a nice pregnant mom. Like that was like a Keri Russell type.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let's get her. Like a nice pregnant young mom.
How many times were you a pregnant mom?
A lot of times. A lot.
Yes, I was a queen for quite a long time.
I
I managed to wriggle out of that eventually. You have to wriggle to get out.
Yes, you do. And you do get out.
And you get out. Yeah, important to get out.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would say about me because I've lived a lot of lives when it comes to being an actor, you know? So from doing something as loud as Reno 911,
So good.
and then you slide all the way over and that pendulum hits Jeffrey Dahmer.
No,
You know, I don't know what it would say because it depends on which version of me they're looking for.
There you go.
What version of you are they looking for right now?
Sexy.
You knew I was going there.
I knew you were going there.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know, but I love the fact that that in this one being, I can make people laugh and make them cry, and I do not take it lightly. I feel like it's one of my favorite gifts that the Most High has given me, is that duality.
Parker, what about you? Did you ever feel like you were cast as the type?
I actually saw, I think it was, I remember Polly or a movie like that described a Parker Posey type that I was not offered. Isn't that great? I read something where it said a Parker Posey type. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I agree with you. I love that nuance and that depth of playing it all. As women, we get to do it all. I watched all of you. It was so fun. You're still a queen with that gun and that opening shot. You're a queen of the land now. It's a whole thing. And just, we're all queens.
Helen, you are a woman of many, many talents, as she's mentioned, but you
Can't sing.
Well, can't do it all.
Did you shoot that gun? Did you learn how to shoot that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
It's visceral, isn't it? Guns are very dangerous. I hate guns, but it's kind of incredible fun to have one in your hands. It's just a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But,
You deliver an F-bomb with more panache than about anyone in the business, and I'm wondering if you have
And the C-bomb.
Do you have a favorite cursing scene? Like, what is it?
Oh, that I've been in?
Yes.
Well, actually, probably in the series I'm doing now, MobLand, which is, I just curse all the time. It's great. So something very satisfying about it. I don't know why, but it's, yeah. But apart from that, I haven't had the opportunity. I didn't swear as Catherine the Great of Russia.
Cristin, have you ever gotten a really good curse in?
I feel like I have a distant memory of I had some pretty good runs in Palm Springs of being able to just like let it rip. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Anytime you get to say fuckface is a good scene.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your memoir. Oh no, this is another question.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I can't.
But you can swear. Parker, I'm going to paraphrase this, but in your memoir, you write that talented is what people in Hollywood call actors when they want to say crazy.
Oh, that's a good line. That is
Yeah, congratulations on it.
That is
When was the first time you heard talented attributed to yourself and interpreted that way?
Oh, well, everyone around always said I'd do something different. I remember being like 9 years old and being a dancer, and the teacher, Miss Linda, in Monroe, Louisiana, said, she has talent, she has charisma. And yeah, but I didn't feel the kind of like crazy part. I guess in the aughts, like I think in the 90s it felt really creative and you could be different without, it just felt heroes and villains and black and white and more, I think, conservative.
Interpreting something as crazy, that is like a backhanded compliment.
Right.
Have any of you ever been given flattery that was like a euphemism, maybe, in your interpretation of it, or a backhanded compliment in a performance or an audition?
I don't know about backhanded, but
Front-handed.
right to my face.
Yeah.
I mean, I auditioned for something early in my career, and the two people, the producers, looked at each other and said, "She's got a cute face. You think she can lose weight?" And I was like, "Guys, she can hear you. I am she. I'm right here." You know what I mean? And I was like, "And no, she can't. How about that?" You know what I mean? So no, it was just like right to my face.
But with any eye contact afterwards, or just completely?
Well, I looked at them and I said, "I can hear you. I'm standing right here." And no, I can't. And now what? Are y'all gonna give me the job or?
And did they?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, they were like,
After that,
terrified.
they probably felt so shamed. I don't even know if I was the best one, but they probably felt so embarrassed.
You gotta have people.
I mean, I feel like this has been spoken about before, but I feel like I've seen actually like there, and maybe this is just like in the culture at large, like such a celebration of men who are like really go for it.
Yeah.
And like are like, they like did a crazy thing to everyone, and everyone's like, wow, they must take this so seriously. And I've like witnessed some of that, but more just like heard about it more and have thought that like if I ever did that, it would not end well.
Yeah.
And like that still happens.
Yeah, that definitely.
But I don't know if that's like a backhanded compliment. That's just more of like
the reality.
the reality.
Sexism.
Yeah, and just
misogyny. Yeah, it's very
is a
real.
reality.
When you asked that question, I felt myself just kind of like deflate because I think the misogyny is so rampant.
Yeah.
And to be a dynamic character or a dynamic woman or even a dynamic person, I think is kind of outrageous right now. I feel like we're
For a woman to be
for
that.
any like it's
anyone
like
to be.
there's something very provincial I think that's happened with the social media and the Instagram and people being judged by how they look, and I feel like just like a need to be really entertaining, you know, and make people laugh and all that. But this double standard of women being in there, this misogyny is sad. It's like it's a downer.
I remember years ago I went up for I think it was Paradise Alley, and there I went in and there was a whole list of everyone in the cast or all the characters, and I kid you not, before every one of them it was beautiful.
Yes,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, but she doesn't know it.
That's the worst one.
Kathy, such a big part of your press campaign for the launch of Matlock was that this was it. You called it your last ride, and very quickly there was a 180. And outside of being credited with just saving broadcast television, what inspired the switch? What sparked you?
The script. It's always a script for me. And when I started reading it, it was all episodic, and then there's this amazing twist at the end, which gives the character so much substance because she's, trying to fight a huge corporation, and she regards them as preventing her daughter from getting help being on opioids 10 or 12 years previous. And so when I saw that, I thought, okay, great. Because this is something I can really believe in, that it means something. I want it to mean something. And I just felt that up until that point, things were starting to wind down for me. I was getting roles that I really cared about in films that then no one would see. And this just the disappointment or the way things were edited, suddenly just really started to hurt too much. And I just thought maybe I ought to think about, put my house on the market and moving to France or something, because I just wanted some real stimulation. I think all of us here, you do because you really need to do it and you want to do it and it makes you happy. And anyway, I guess I've said my piece.
Yeah, that show is such a gift. Like that was so, because I was so touched and surprised by that. It's intelligent and I was like, wow. And then I'm hearing my friends are like, I'm watching Matlock. And they're like, am I 95 years old? Like, wow, this is like, it's so comforting because they get it. The network gets it. Yeah. And it has substance.
Whose idea was it to do Matlock as a woman?
Well, our producer, Eric Christian Olsen, had the rights, and then they gave it to Jenny Snyder-Ehrman, and she says she always walks, to get ideas about stuff. She says she was walking, and she was thinking in her own life about how invisible she felt. Because she's, I guess, in her 50s. And she was thinking about that a lot. And then I don't know what got her on the opioid track. I don't know whether it was someone she knew or a child or whatever. And so then, because they originally wanted to make it a great-great-granddaughter of the original Matlock, so she'd be 25.
So she's beautiful and she doesn't know it.
But luckily, they thought, she can be in her 70s, and I'm stunned that all of this has happened. I really am. I'm just like, here I am with you guys and, all these cameras and everything. And I just feel every day is such a gift. And it was after also the strikes. So everybody's so happy to be back at work.
Kathy, I'm glad you brought up the edit, because you made news recently for talking about a scene that you really were hurt was cut from Misery. And I'm wondering, for the rest of you, like, what is a scene or a line in a work that you've done that you were just like...
Can I interrupt you about that, though? Because we were just talking about that earlier. I just did this thing with Rob Reiner. It was a 20-minute thing for TCM. And what I was saying, in the novel, there was a very funny scene where she runs over the sheriff with a lawnmower. So I was making a joke about it, and suddenly I see in the press, she wants more violence, and that was not a scene that I was, so let me disabuse you of that, but have at it, ladies.
I know it's funny the way this all goes now.
Now, what do they call that, the headline?
Clickbait.
Yeah, well,
It's clickbait.
I knew it, all that stuff. It just bugs me. Anyway, but talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Oh, no, I did not read the Kathy Bates loves violence version of this. Mine was the things she was sad to see cut. We all have our darlings that don't make it to camera. What have been some of yours?
Well, I would say I did a series, and I was never the ingenue in my entire career until I turned, 45. And then it was like, and now we want you to be naked. And I'm like, y'all waited till now? Baby, when I was 20, these girls was sitting up here. You waited till now? And so the thing in which I was fine to play the part, because I did want women of a certain age who were not married, who did not have children, to see themselves as full beings, as sexual creatures and sexual beings. And So the days that you have to film intimate scenes, it's already stressful enough. You know what I'm saying? You just, and I don't know, and I think it's men who do these call sheets and they put the sex at night on the call sheet because they think it's sexy. It's like, no, let's do it first thing in the morning. When this man just got out the tub and he not smelling like a field mouse, let's get to it. Get it out the way. But then what would upset me is that you go through all of the heart palpitations, the clothes set, the this, the that. Was my side meat a little too jiggly? This, was that? Are my kibbles and bits covered? And then they don't use it. I'm like, well, why was I going through all of this foolishness? And you're not good. I wasn't crazy about it in the first place, but I'm willing. And so when I put myself out there to be that vulnerable, to be literally that exposed, and then you don't use it, now I got an attitude. Run it back. Stuff it back in there somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Nothing specific. It's just always an odd experience to be so inside. I mean, because editing is like the third draft of the film, and like arguably maybe the most important. Like it lives and dies in the edit, as you know, and like whatever. And I've certainly had experiences. Well, from an ego standpoint, where I watch it and I'm like, that's not what I was trying to do, and which is like always very strange. But also sometimes I know I can get a little myopic about it, and I get like defensive of the character, and I'm like, why did they cut that thing that she says that explains this, this, and this? And I forget to zoom out and think about the story as a larger piece. But when you do ADR, someone I know once called that actor's dreams ruined.
Yes.
When you see yourself for the first time and it's not done, and you're just doing these like little clips, and you want to quit, and you can't believe like the level of shame. But I think that like that's always maybe an element of it where you're like, well, I get protective of certain things, even though much later I can be like, well, I get why that was cut. It was too long. But in the moment,
I think I don't know if you guys agree with this, but working on the character is sort of like a period of gestation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah.
So, but you do get very protective of it. So then when it's shifted, or worse than that, when it's diametric to what you thought was going to end up, it's so painful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you've all had that same experience.
For sure.
Because you have no control over it, and suddenly it's out of your hands, and it's just
definitely.
Yeah.
Feel very exposed.
That's one of the reasons I really love working with Ryan Murphy, because he is such a collaborative partner. So we got down to the end of the series, and there were some options with the way we thought it was gonna go, but then we got a rewrite. So when you have a good collaborative partner, you can then go back and say, you know, can we talk about it? How can we, you know, move the pieces on the chessboard around so that we're all satiated, you know?
Keri, you and I were talking before this about your not even sure if you want to be an actress still or ever. And your partner, Matthew Reese, he has said this of your career. It's rare that she's enthusiastic about acting. It's not so much a dislike, it's a discomfort. First of all, this is your partner and co-star of 6 seasons of television. How accurate is that statement? And if it is accurate, like what gets you to set? What gets you to go to London and film The Diplomat when you're feeling this way?
Oh my goodness, I'm
Talk
sweating.
to us, Keri.
Sweating.
We gotta hear this.
It is true. I came to this. I didn't grow up like desperate to be an actress. I'm still not sure I want to be, but I really love my job right now. I love my job right now, but yeah, there's a lot of things that are still embarrassing to me. Like you doing that, it's embarrassing. Yeah.
I get it.
I think I'm naturally kind of a shy. I'm not a performer at ease. There are people that are. Matthew, for instance, will say. I go, oh, what are you doing this week? And he goes, oh, I'm just going to do this play reading for whatever. And I go, oh, you're just going to do it? He goes, yeah, I just haven't done like a German and Russian accent in a while, and I just want to like try it out. I'm like, that's my nightmare. I would fucking die. I'm like, I don't want to just fucking do that with strangers. But he, you know, so I think for me, there's like a real push-pull. The things I love about it, like my job right now, which I love so much, it was the writing. The writing is so good, and that I couldn't say no. So that's what it usually takes. It takes writing that's really that I think is special and that I just have to do, that I think is really funny or smart, and I think I still have to overcome the obstacle of being nervous. But I think for me, getting to do this version that we're in of TV that's really like elevated to me right now, it works for me because we have the same crew for usually, 6 months or whatever, and it helps me get less nervous. I go, oh, I know who the boom operator is. I know who I can absorb them into I can be less nervous of just like showing up. But so yes, that is a part of it. And I think that tension for me of being nervous and is part of the energy of it all. Yeah.
For all of you, can you describe to me the current chapter of your careers in terms of the opportunities that are presented to you right now and maybe how it differed from 5-10 years ago?
I'm finding it to be a huge relief. I think for a while, if I look back 10 years ago, I was often playing, and this is not to these opportunities were also great, but I often felt like I was playing a version of a girl of someone's dreams or something, that there were things that didn't feel necessarily like my life experience, which is fine. But I feel like the older I get, the more I feel like I'm like taking off a pair of tight pants. And I'm just like, oh, thank God. Like, I just feel so much freer, and I feel like my own depth of humanity is like meeting things that it weren't, not necessarily that it like wasn't welcome or anything, it just like wasn't part of it. And that's like not a dig at any of those things. I think some of that's aging too. It's like how you're perceived at 25. I think there's even less roles that are complicated for a 25-year-old. I was auditioning to play like sorority girls and like a dead body in a trunk, or like someone who was like in love with a 40-year-old and being like, I don't know, like, have you ever tried dancing in the rain? Like, do you know what I mean? So like to leave that behind has felt really good. And I also think that's cultural as well. That was like a big moment in time too.
Didn't you find when you're young, I was talking to a young actress the other day, she said, I have to cry. In everything that I do, I have to cry. Why do I have to cry all the time?
Yeah.
She's like in her early 20s.
Yes.
I said, don't worry.
Yeah.
You'll come to an age where you don't have to cry anymore. But, it's the writing, isn't it?
It is.
But I think also the writing for women has improved, in my experience, so enormously in the last 10 years, maybe only in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary, the trajectory.
Yeah.
I'm terrified that it's going to be all shoved back in the back down again. Shut up, you women. We don't want you talking anymore, or having character or having agency in this world.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real danger of that abroad at the moment. But I see the writing in all of your characters that you've all played, and the kind of material that I'm getting, it's so much better.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like the ball on the roulette wheel, that it just kind of lands and you don't know how the script gets to you, what director has been thinking about you. I feel just incredibly lucky. And it's more of like a path as as an artist. So I'm not comfortable with the business side of it. I don't really understand it. It makes me very nervous. I think the screen and television and film are very powerful medium. And the more integrity we can have and the more characters, then the more we can relate to each other. And it just feels so important right now. But this kind of luck, like I think people have this idea that there's just a lot of scripts that you'll get around to reading when you have time, because you're just busy eating bonbons. You're like, I kind of like that one. Didn't really like this one. But this director, I really want to work with. And it's just not like that. Like I feel like there's just a whole cosmology that's happening with stories at play, because it ends up being like, oh my God, how did I get this lovely part? And now I just went through this, and I'm out like sponging everything around me and having these conversations that I can bring to this, because it feels very rare. It's felt rare for me from like 35 to 55 to fit in. And I think with long form television and the serial work has been just such a blessing.
I wonder if also the long form.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Is what actually has thrown up
Changed.
the great women's roles.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you've got a 2-hour story, usually it's the women who get,
Correct.
You
And
know,
you're selling to
because
13-year-old
unless
boys,
it's about
basically.
the
In the
woman's
theater.
character, which it rarely
Yes.
is in a 2-hour movie. So the
Exactly.
women's role gets cut down, but on a long form, you've got the time and the, to
develop. To unpack,
develop
yes.
the complications of the character.
That's exactly what I was
Well,
thinking.
I was gonna say, like, for me, I feel like I entered the business as a comedian. So people knew me to be funny. I did all the sitcoms, played Cedric the Entertainer's wife on the sitcom, and Reno 911 and all of those things. But I feel like once I did this tiny series on HBO called Getting On, it was about a hospital, myself, Alex
That was so
Borstein,
good, yeah.
Laurie Metcalf, thank you so much. Once I did that, after people realized that I could do something else, I stayed in the drama lane. It was just like, you know, and I literally just called my team and said, I think people forgot I'm funny. Give me a comedy
laugh. Yeah, it
you
makes them
know,
laugh.
because that's another gift, a skill set that I have that I haven't, well, I use it every day at home, but I haven't used it on the screen in a long time. And I just think that for me, that's the difference, is that every role I get, I'm crying, I'm falling out, you know what I mean? I'm perturbed, my back of my hand to my forehead, all of those things. But I was like, I'm a funny girl too.
Yeah.
So now I'm back in the streets trying to remind the folks.
Dahmer, you just disappeared. I mean, it wasn't anything like I'm saying right now. Dahmer,
No,
you
ma'am.
just disappeared.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I think is the goal for all of us.
Yes.
You know, somebody was saying, I studied years ago, I did a script intern with Jose Quintero, and he said, the line disappears and a human being takes its place. And that's what you did.
She's saying, like, in the series, like, you just stopped seeing me. You didn't see this.
That's right.
This foolishness. No.
No, this
I
beauty, this sexiness.
I buckled down.
You were without your sexiness.
Honey, I put them away. Wait a minute. Yeah.
But you know, that's very hard to move from comedy to serious tragedy or you know, serious material. It's a very hard thing to do. And to have the audience come along with you.
Yeah.
And then to be able to go back. You're a very rare creature in that sense, very rare.
And I thank you, and I thank God for it every day. Thank you so much, though.
That's a great talent.
You very famously like reintroduced yourself to your team, your agents and your managers in terms of like what you wanted to do. Was that before Getting On, or did that come out of the experience of Getting On?
That was before.
Okay.
That was because all I was ever doing was comedy. And then I called all the folk together and said, they're like, well, what are we doing here? And I said, I want to reintroduce myself because I think you know me. But I done changed. You know? And I said, and here is how I see myself. And if you don't see me like I see myself, then we're not aligned. It doesn't mean you're not great. You're just not great for me. And I'm not great for you. So some people left the team, some people joined the team. Then I was able to start doing the work, like Getting On, the movies Selma, When They See Us, that Ava DuVernay directed, you know, all of these pieces that I knew I could do. I knew in my soul I could do it. And, but once you start getting nominated for that work, you only get more of it. And so the ladder kind of fell off. So now I'm gonna have another meeting and remind them
But you know,
that I'm funny.
do you ever feel like, I mean, our whole business is about imagination, and yet there's such a lack of it in terms of how they see us.
Oh yeah?
What is that?
Well, it's always been a very upsetting dichotomy to me. What we have to do, like the softness we need to do what we do, the sort of like laying
The
everything down.
vulnerability, you mean,
The vulnerability mixed with like the Shark Tank business and noise that comes hand in hand with it. I think it's like a constant sort of reckoning with like how do you continue to like open yourself while also being like, I'm trying to ignore this and that's crazy and this is like it is very odd that
That's
the
what
two
you were just saying.
meet.
You love the craft but don't like the business.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
either.
understand how it works. I get really confused by it. I don't, because there is imagination here, and there are great writers. So
Yeah.
why aren't the decisions being made for more humor and humanity and story? And I think it's business. I think it's
is
like,
business. Yeah.
you probably know what they call it, but they have to make the same of something that
Yeah.
did well before.
Right.
With White Lotus, people were like, oh my God, we watch it every week. And
Yeah.
they were just so excited for the water cooler talk. They were just like, oh.
Absolutely.
And Matlock is like that.
I'm astounded. They
Do you get people coming up at the grocery store and just like, oh my God, like so excited to see you?
yeah,
Comes from left field so often.
yeah,
And the ones you think, oh, now this is going to be great.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker, you talked about the White Lotus. It is known to be this like massive career launch pad and relaunch pad. What have the last 2 months been like for you? I mean, you booked a Gap campaign before the show even came out. Like, what have the incoming calls been like and the offers?
It's that Gap commercial was so great. Oh. I mean, I got to dance like I danced in college, and it was kind of referencing a movie I did called Party Girl 30 years ago. That was a cult movie, and then literally the film was lost. People watched it on videotape and like would dance before they go out. You know, a fun movie for young, fun people. And it disappeared, and then it got rediscovered to a whole other generation. So the Gap, I've been doing this for a while. It's just that roulette wheel thing. Like I have no control over it. And suddenly it's just like, okay, here you go, this way. But I haven't read anything. You think, again, I'm not like,
Right.
this is incredible. They're sending me all this. Like I've yet to read something.
The next thing.
Yeah, the next thing. But the memes and what it's done for my like the excitement of my friends and family around me. It's been so lovely. I'm sure you feel that too.
Yeah.
If there are friends going like,
They're so
we were
excited.
so worried, or like we've been stressed for you, you
Yeah,
know, because
yeah.
they hear the stories and
They're glad to see you happy.
They're glad to see you happy and appreciated and like getting work that's like fulfilling and funny.
Yeah.
And my mom, you know, I'm just like so happy. She can feel fabulous with her friends.
You know what happened to me years ago when my mother, God rest her, she went on a cruise and she was with my sister, and she was at the captain's table. You know how they do that for people every now and then. And he said, well, what does your daughter do? She's an actress. And she started going through all these parts, and they were these horrible characters. And finally she just got really quiet, and she said to my sister, why does she play all these afflicted people? You know? Oh my God. So it's too bad that my mother isn't here now, because it's here in she would have loved you. She is here in spirit.
Afflicted is so good.
Keri, you've never really engaged in the celebrity part of the job. You left LA as soon as Felicity wrapped. You've been in New York. You choose the projects you want to do. But in that removal from that part of like the job, what have been the perks and what have maybe been the things that you've lost in that decision?
What have been the I don't know. I like my regular life. I like, my friends mostly do our business kind of jobs, but I like all the real life stuff, and when I don't have it, I'm not happy, and I don't want to talk shit too much about acting. Like I love it. I am completely married to like the adventure of it, and that's what I'm in it for. Like I love to go to some strange city. I don't care. It could be like Paris, or it could be some tiny little like southern town, and I like to learn the city, and I like to meet new people and find my little thing. I like the adventure of it, and that's, I think, what I'm in it more for than some of the other stuff.
Cristin, the last time I believe you were at one of these round tables, and I'm going to read this verbatim because it's a very good quote. No, you
Don't
said
get
your-
nervous.
You said that your
That was fucked up that you said that. Gosh, okay.
It was. You're going to be canceled now. Yeah. No, you said that your dream was to play Beetlejuice as a child, or moving forward, just a psychotic demon or a villain who's gross and like evil. Maybe a ghost vampire or just a psychopath.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
But
kind
Do
of
you want to say?
Hangman is kind of like,
Yes,
Yeah.
I think
true.
I know.
I love you in that. I've been watching that. I love you in that. It's so great, and it's like the where it's going. They're so good in it.
Thanks,
I
Keri.
really, really love you in
Thank
that.
you.
It's so fun to watch, and all the like the nuance of what you're doing. I love it so much. I think you're so good in it.
Thank you so much.
it's incredible. And did it scratch that itch for you?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did scratch that itch.
Like heightened.
It scratched the itch. I've been. I mean, that role has been such a gift. A gift is an understatement. Like I've been dreaming of a role like that since I was a kid. You know, and like it really did. I've been wanting to, like, show different colors. And that role has allowed me to show like a multitude of colars.
Well, that episode, wasn't it the 4th episode when you went to Arkham Asylum?
Yeah.
I mean, there you go.
It's
Everything she
devastating.
said.
It's devastating.
Devastating.
Yeah, and you get to see like this, you know, a person
Why
warped.
she becomes what she becomes.
driven mad, and it
absolutely.
felt like Shakespeare. It felt like an opera. Like Colin and I would talk about that a lot. Like we would compare the show to sort of like an extremely dark and demented opera, just in terms of its like bigness and its arias. You know, like that whole Arkham sequence felt like an aria. Not to sound like lofty and like, but you know, like I don't know. Just it's very rare that you get to work on things that scratch that itch. You know, and so yeah, I it's been profound. I loved it so much.
Helen, I'm going to go a little left field, but in preparing for today, I read like countless interviews with all of you, listened to a bunch of podcasts, and a recurring theme with you, Helen, is with remarkable consistency. You mention Kurt Cobain and how you're bummed that he died before GPS.
Yes, indeed, I am.
What is the fixation with Kurt Cobain?
Well,
Why
it's,
is
it's
he-
not. It's not Kurt Cobain. It's dying young. It's dying young, and I'm old. You know, I didn't die young, and the terrible tragedy of and the reason that I want to live as long as I possibly can and continue working as long as I possibly can. Exactly what Keri says. The adventure of it.
Yeah.
The amazing, wonderful revelations and adventure of life and indeed of work. Anyway. The adventure is in life and work is the unknown and what is coming. You know, it's fantastic.
And sticking around until you get
sticking around till you get there. That's right. Yeah.
And the people too, like the communion you get when like something bigger comes through with someone who you don't really know that well, and you're like your eyes are locked and you're like in this thing, and it's like it's incredible. It's like kind of worth all the other crap that we're talking about.
And it's so great when you have a male co-actor who is supportive and what's the word? Supportive, I guess, is the word really ultimately. But he's not there to try and put you down or shut you up or take over. But a genuine relationship, and you were telling me about your relationship with Colin, and I had that with Bob Hoskins in Long Good Friday many years ago, with Pierce Brosnan in this. You know, it's great to have that support of you can't really do it, in my experience, without the support
it's certainly harder.
of male actors. It's certainly harder.
That's a
You
fact.
can't do it to your full abilities without the support of your co-actors.
Yeah.
I guess male or female.
Yes,
really,
that's
actually.
correct.
Yeah, I feel that very much with Sky P. Marshall, plays Olympia in Matlock, and I mean, it was another miracle when she walked in the door, and the intensity and the working off of each other, and the just in the eyes, as you were saying, it's in the eyes, and it's only grown more and more and more, and it's almost like I don't want to get to know each other too well in real life. What is that?
Yeah.
No,
Does anybody else feel that way?
Of course.
Because that's your relationship.
And it should be mysterious.
That's your real relationship.
Yes.
It's there in
It
a
should be
way.
mysterious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're continuing to find out.
Yeah.
You know, although I adore her, and you know, we laugh and everything, but went to her wedding and all of that. But it's the intensity of the relationship that we have on screen is just gangbusters, and I don't think
so
I've
good.
experienced that with I don't want to dish anybody or whatever, but right now I'm just like all about this and working with her. She's so fantastic.
And it comes in a surprising way, doesn't it? I have the same with Harrison. You know, I mean, Harrison to me is a humongous movie star who really basically intimidates the hell out of me because he's a huge movie star. But there's a chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful when you hit that chemistry, isn't it? It's just lovely. And you do nothing for it, really. It just kind of magically happens.
It makes me glad to be a person.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm not, but just like there's a lot that's like very vexing about humanity. And then when you're like sitting on a strange set somewhere and your like eyes are locked and you're just like up to something, it makes me be like, oh yeah, we're all okay. Like it's all okay.
The world works.
Yeah.
And you have the story that is bringing you closer together. You're serving the story. She's serving her relationship, and you're serving your relationship to the story. So you're keeping it sacred, and that's what's just so delicious about these connections that you can have with Colin, and have that mystery and that chemistry, and just share it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Niecy, I read that when you told people that you wanted to marry Jessica, your now spouse, that you shouldn't do it, that it would derail opportunities for you. And I mean, and this is not long ago. The opposite happened. Like, your career has flourished. Look at you now. Yay. Good. Tell us how you received something like that in this day and age. And like, are those people still a part of your life, a part of your team?
You know, everybody has an opinion and everybody has a thought about it, you know, and there were people who were like, you know, you have to keep, you know, the public, your fan base has known you to be a certain way. And you need to stay right there, because otherwise you'll never eat lunch in this town again. You know what I mean? You can't. You know what I mean? And some of that comes from, you know, older generations, family members who that's the generation that they were raised in and how they think. But I've always been a person who does one thing, what I want to do. And I'm going to do it all the way. I'm not going to halfway do nothing. You understand me? So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I give very little thought, if any, to what somebody else thinks about it. You know what I mean? I cannot even imagine my life without Jessica. I can't even. I don't even know. You know what I mean? This is the greatest love of my entire life. Not because of her gender, but because of her soul and the look in the eyes and the connection is the tether. You know what I mean? And you know, and all of you have experienced being in the situation at one point where you have to go out into this world. You have to make people feel on the set if you're leading the charge or if you're providing provision for the vision, and that thing at home is not right. The whole car ride over there, you off, you don't
That's right.
You don't feel right, or somebody texting you or calling you while you at work giving you a fever and you like, wait a minute. And I am in a prime spot because regardless of the work, whatever I have to get up and go do, Jessica is the one that puts a battery in my back every day. Reminds me of who I am. You know what I mean? And reminds me to go get it, and you know, and encourages me to the max. So I would not even be able to enjoy my work as much as I do without that kind of support. So I did what I wanted to do. I don't regret it. I would do it again. As a matter of fact, we're about to celebrate 5 years.
Oh
so
my gosh, that's so
thank you. About to do
long.
another vow renewal, a big party, just so I can say, in your face. Whoever told me not to get married, in your face.
I mean, I would love some in your face. We've all gotten bad advice in our careers over the years. Maybe not to that extreme, but like, can you recall any time where you were given just like deeply bad or problematic guidance in your careers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Let me just say, one time I did a dancing show. I'm gonna look at you because I know you're a dancer, and a lot of people that were on my team said, "Don't do this show." They were like, we don't think you should do it. And I wanted to do it so bad.
You wanted to
because let me tell you something. I was in a dance program. I fell in love with this boy, and I stayed up and talked to him all night. So the day of the big show, I flopped. I flopped on the stage, and I never forget, Vivian Gandy, my dance teacher, Miss Gandy, told me to get off that stage, and I have been wanting to be back in tap shoes ever since.
Right that wrong.
So I went out there, baby, let me tell you something. 3 pairs of eyelashes, sequins all over the place.
Yes.
I tipped, I tapped, I told. When I tell you I had a time.
Love it.
And they told me not to do it, but it was one of the greatest joys I've ever had. So everything is not always about the prestige and who's gonna be there and what's the label you're wearing. Sometimes I just put it on because I want to. I show up because I want to. And that was bad advice. And I took my own advice and had the best time of my life.
Yes.
Had the best time.
Kathy, what was the bad advice you were thinking
Well, I'd
of?
rather just stay happy. Because you just told a happy thing. You know, mine was I had ovarian cancer in 2003, and my agent said, don't tell him.
Wow.
And I said, what? He said, no, don't tell anybody. You don't want to be the poster child for ovarian cancer. You know, because I guess back there in the early aughts, you know, there was I don't know if it was like terrible advice, but I think if I had come out again, you know, at that point, maybe it would have helped some people.
Yeah.
Because when I had breast cancer in 12, that helped people when I talked about lymphedema and all of that stuff, which I didn't know anything about. And the last 10 years, we've made so much progress in letting people know what it is. And so I regret not doing that earlier, you know, because what it made me do was I hid.
Yeah.
Right.
I went underground. I was on the board at the academy, and I called them. I said, I can't come to any of the meetings. I'm doing, and I know I was on chemo and everything, so I wasn't feeling great. But I just hid for like 9 months, like a whole year, and I don't know that was so great when I look back on it. I mean, and you know, your family's expecting you, not family, but some friends are expecting you. Well, aren't you supposed to be better by now? You know, so we can quit coming around. Yeah. And so it was bad advice, I think, on a lot of levels, career and personal. I just brought everybody down. I told y'all I did. Tell another story.
You brought it back up because you were open the second time around.
On the contrary, it's to do with being authentic, isn't it? Authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And for good or bad, authentic to yourself is the thing that counts. And
And I think we are better about that now. I think people, and speaking back to like the parts that are around now, I think people in the last 10 years are better about accepting people where they're at, or, you know, whoever you are or whatever, you know, like I think we're a little bit better than we used to be about
I think so too.
meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
I was told to have a nose job in my 20s, when I was in my 20s. Some said, you never get work if you don't have a nose job.
Wow.
You have a lovely nose.
Thank you, darling. I didn't have the nose job. But so silly, isn't it?
What was your response?
I said, no, I'm not having a nose job. I didn't want to be a pretty actress anyway, you know. So, you know, I elected to be not so pretty.
Cristin, you said you had a story as well?
Oh, just I think when I don't know, when people tell you, it's kind of just vague of like what you should be doing. Of like, I think the business part of it, of just being like, you should be this, you should try to be this, you should try to be this. Just because they're doing their best to like advise you based on what they've been fed. And I think that like, that can get tricky. Mine isn't nearly as profound, it's just kind of general.
But that's all advice is. It's either people looking at their own life, what didn't work for them, did work, or, you know, or their own fears. And then they cast them upon you. You know what I mean? My mother now is my biggest fan, but when I was a little girl and said, I want to be an actress, she said, you should go into nursing because you're kind-hearted. And I'm like, yeah, but no. You know what I mean? So now I got to clean bedpans because you, whatever. You know, but she was only saying like, I can't help you with that, but I know this path.
Right.
I know that if you do this, it will work. But what you doing, what you want to, what if it doesn't work? And I'm like, what if it does?
Right.
You know, so it's just sometimes people saying to you what their own
Right, she's
fears
protecting
are.
you from heartbreak.
Yeah, you know.
Like, why would you go into this unstable thing?
Why would you do it?
I have to. This is a happy story.
Give me your happy story.
So this reminds me when I was in school at SMU and I landed in Clover because they just had a great program there. And my parents were quite old and they came down to see me in a play. And this kind of feeds into appearance too. I didn't find out till many years later that my father had gone to talk to the acting teacher and saying, well, you know, she's not conventionally attractive. Should she go to New York? I'm glad I didn't know that for years. But in defense of my father, so after the play, I went to their motel where they were staying. And he told me that when he was a young man, he was a baseball pitcher. He was a what do you call it? A left paw. Southpaw. I always get that wrong. His southpaw. And he said that he had an opportunity. There was like a AAA team or AA team that came through Memphis, and he had an opportunity to be on the team. And he turned it down because he was, I don't know, wanted to be more responsible in his life, and that was risky, and, you know. And he said, I never had the chance to find out if I could have done it. Mm-hmm. And I want you to have that chance.
Yeah.
So he said, here's $500, which was a lot of money in those days. It was 1970, to go to New York, and I had friends there and stuff. So
I love
that's
that.
a nice story.
That's a lovely
nice
story.
story.
That's a lovely story. And I just wanted to say something about what you just said about when you said, I didn't want to be a beautiful actress. First of all, too late, because you are. But second of all, I would tell you something. I understand what you mean in theory because I love being shiny in my real life, but on camera, I don't care. I want to look like a doll. It doesn't bother me to disappear like you were talking about in some of those other roles that I did where you're like unrecognizable, because I feel like it's such a gift that you know, you don't have to live up. I feel sorry for people who've been beautiful their whole life, because let me tell you something, it's tough when that's what you're known for. And then you gotta keep it up for your whole life. The whole thing. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do.
Yes, but can I interject something here, though? I don't know if you'll have the same experience. When you see an amazing performance, and it doesn't matter what that person looks like, they're beautiful.
They're beautiful. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and beautiful.
You find the beauty.
Because you light up. It's like, once again, the performance in Dahmer. I mean, it just... And what are those things? What is it? The GI
Filter?
or whatever, or the AG chat BT, whatever. They did that to me when I was doing a movie, and they showed it to me. I went, "Oh wow, I look really good," and they didn't tell me that they put some thing in there. That was like, I thought, wow, my makeup looks really good. The lighting is great.
But you feel like when you have to play a role that is not so dolled up, it takes a lot of the pressure off you.
Yes,
to me, I feel
all
like,
of it. It's the best.
I mean, like, because the role that I'm doing on Grotesquerie, I play a detective, but she's an alcoholic. And in her alcoholism, in any place in it, she could be hammered, she could be hungover, she could be tipsy, you know, but in her addiction, she's not always together.
No, right.
And I just feel like it's such a freedom of coming to set and not having to be so polished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I enjoyed living in her skin, you know, for that while, because I don't have to have on a spank. I don't have to have on, you know what I mean? I don't have to be squeezed in and pushed together and all of those things. And I just felt like, wow, this is such a gift. Who knew to look terrible was a gift? Always, you know?
Yeah.
As we get ready to land this plane, I'm wondering, what do you think is your most underrated role in your career and why?
Underrated. Ooh.
Parker, you got one.
Come on, Parker.
You tell me what it is.
I will
I did so many independent
I will forever argue for the quality of the satire in the Josie and the Pussycats movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. That has, that was How old are you? How old were you when it came out? Were you
It's not about me.
almost made it about him? Yeah, I had a good time working on that. You know, there's this really campy movie called The Apple that made me really laugh. It was made in the early 80s from Germany. And I had fun. I had fun with it. I think I put stickers on my face, and felt like I was in a
Dolores
big
Claiborne.
movie.
I love that
I love
movie.
Dolores Claiborne. I love
Yeah.
Dolores
Helen-
Claiborne so much.
Helen's
So much.
husband, Taylor Hagford, directed it.
Oh my God.
I love that movie.
So
around when
start to finish, because it was the only time I think I've had an actor's director. We had like 2 months, 3 months to prepare. What do you need to do this part? Because I'm going to be cutting back and forth between 35
Yeah.
and 65, you know, and having all that at hand, and just the focus. And they didn't publicize it.
Oh, I love that.
I love that movie
that
too.
movie so much.
I've seen it a couple of times.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it's being
You were so
recognized
good
now.
at
What
that.
year was
And
that?
I remember,
What year was that?
94.
You were so good
And
at
I
that.
remember after it came out, I was walking down the street in this little village near my house, and a woman came flying out of a beauty salon with her her thing on her, and her daughter running after her to grab her, and she said, "I just have to tell you, your movie got me out of an abusive relationship."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to say, because I didn't do it. Tony wrote it, Taylor directed it, everybody, and it's the character that Stephen wrote and everything. But I was tremendously disappointed that didn't get a wider audience. I mean, it was such a great experience. I loved it. Not just the shooting of it, but not the movie itself, but it was just the best.
All right, we're going to end with a ostensibly silly but subtly deep and telling question.
Oh, okay.
What is the most used emoji on your phone?
Heart emoji and prayer hands.
Me too.
me too.
Most used on mine. And you know what I found out? I found out that the prayer hands really aren't prayer hands. They're a high five.
What?
That's what it's supposed to be.
Thank you.
No,
They're a
but
thank
I thought it was a prayer.
no, the ones that are like this, it's not prayer hands. It's high five, but I use it as prayer hands. Yeah.
I use the melted smiley face as sort of a like to respond. Yeah.
I am a big fan of just the eyes and no face.
Yeah. Oh, I use the biting
I
of the
use
lip a
that
lot, too.
today.
Yeah.
I use that today, yeah.
I like
I like the drool.
Yeah.
Drool is funny too.
Sometimes I'll just use a little slide, or as if I'm like sliding into hell. Same thing with the little ballet slippers too. It can be like, hi, going to hell.
I'm stealing that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Helen, you got an emoji?
I don't like emojis. Good for you.
Fair enough.
Good for you, Helen.
Tell me.
Because I don't know why I don't
Stay
like
strong. You like words better.
I like words better.
Oh, for sure. Thank
yeah, I
God.
do. Although words can, as you said, emojis can say things you need a whole page to explain. And so I guess they're very, very clever like that.
Yeah.
But there's so many things about the whole internet-y thing that I'm just like,
Me too.
come on.
But not GPS.
But not GPS, no.
Ladies, this has been such a treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mikey.
This has
Thank
been a good
you.
experience. Thank you.
To all of our collaborations.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my God.